Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is
Twisted
Twisted
and
and Uncorked.
Uncorked. Hello, twisted humans, and welcome to episode 2. You guys made it through a trifecta of Ted Bundy, and now we're moving on to. Do you want to say what our topic is here? Do you want to say it?
Yes, the topic for the next 2 episodes is disappeared.
Yes. So I am doing mine today, and Sierra will be covering hers next week. We're still going to go through all the categories like previously done. The only difference is that we are going to be doing one case a week, which will really give us the chance to kind of dive deeper into a case without our episodes running too long, which is a good thing, because we don't want to bore you guys. And we also added in some new categories to the mix, so that'll be fun too. Do we want to tell the people what they are, or do we want to just make them wait until it happens?
Let's wait until next week, because next week is the start of the new category, right?
Is
It
it?
disappeared the last of it?
Yeah. The last of this round, so.
Right.
All right, we will wait until we start
Wait till next round.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we know you guys will love them, though. We can concretely say if we know you twisted weirdos at all, that you will like them. And before we get into this week's case, I figured we needed to touch on 2 quick things. One, if you like the show, a reminder to leave us a rating and review. And then second step to that process, if you like stickers and you also have sticker anxiety and you want to hold on to them and not put them on anything, you can send us your review and we'll send you stickers as a thank you.
Yay!
And yes, that was me making fun of Sierra a little bit. But I also have a drawer full of stickers, so I really can't judge her that much. But
Not at all.
you can just collect all of our stickers, guys. That will be how that goes. And we couldn't do the show without you. So yeah, rate, review. Pretty please, and thanks.
Thanks.
This is my please face. Can you tell if you're watching this on YouTube? Can you hear the desperation in my voice? Yeah, so we're episode 2 here, and wouldn't be an episode of Twisted and Uncorked without wine. No, it would not. So I am bringing Sierra down the red road here for our next episode. So I chose 19 Crimes. 1, because it's an awesome wine. And 2, because why would you not cover 19 Crimes on a true crime episode? Why would you not? So it's an Australian red. I know, I'm so lame. Were you able to find this one, by the way?
Yes.
Was it a small fortune? I'm sorry if it was.
No, I think it was only like $20.
Okay. It's about the same here, which is more expensive than I typically go, but for my favorite wine and for the sake of me collecting all 19 of the crime corks like the loser that I am. I got a new one today, though, so that's exciting.
Are you collecting the corks?
Yeah. Do you not know that they have the crime on the side of the cork, Sierra?
I'm looking at it. I don't see the crime.
Do you not have a crime? Let me see. Let me see your cork. I'm not buying it. Are you sure you bought 19 Crimes? Are you sure you didn't just buy a knockoff bottle?
It says 19 crimes on it.
Okay. And then spin it?
But
that's your crime! Crime number 19. What does it say?
I can't tell.
I think it's the same as mine. I think I got 19 too. Something about robbing a shroud from a grave.
No. It says... I can't... It looks like it says EMBEULING. Embeling?
Okay, maybe
That's
when
what it looks
I
like
do,
it says. It looks
maybe
like it
when I
says
do the
embeling.
segment and I tell you the crimes, maybe you can decipher it from that.
Well, and then it says naval stores in certain cases.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I know what you got. Hold on. For the sake of your curiosity here.
Yeah, I'm really confused.
Embelling naval stores in certain cases, which is like pillaging them.
Okay.
Yeah, you got crime number 19. Look at you. I don't have that one.
Look at me.
Look at you go.
I like the bottle, so.
Right? So badass. And then there's an app, fun fact, guys. There's an app that you can download called Living Labels. And if you scan your camera over the wine label, it'll tell you the story of the label. That's because they're based off of actual crimes. So, fun fact. I learned lots of fun things today.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's tell you about 19 crimes. This one's a little bit longer, but only because I wanted to tell you guys the 19 crimes, and I think they're fun, so bear with me here. So, 19 crimes, the Uprising is their Australian red blend, and it bears the same traits as those banished to Australia. Defiant by nature, bold in character, dark with jammy flavors, and a smoky finish. Always uncompromising, it's a taste you'll never forget. So the story behind it, 19 Crimes turns convicts into colonists. Upon conviction, British rogues guilty of at least one of the 19 crimes were sentenced to live in Australia. So can you imagine that being a punishment? It's like, okay.
Yeah, please send me to Australia.
I mean, there's 9 out of the 10 deadliest animals in the world there, and spiders alone.
Yeah, but they live in the future.
Yeah, that's true. That's you never know, they might have just not been discovered back then. maybe they knew, maybe that's why they sent them there. They're like, well, something's gonna eat you, so but still, to send me to a tropical beautiful country, sure, sounds like the worst punishment.
Yeah.
And that was their sentencing rather than death. It was called the punishment by transportation, which is they're transporting them to Australia. And this began in 1787. Unfortunately, many of the lawless died at sea just in process of getting to Australia. But for the rough-hewn prisoners who did make it to shore, a new world awaited. As pioneers in a frontier penal colony, they forged a new country and new lives brick by brick. This wine celebrates the rules that they broke and the culture that they built.
Okay, so we're celebrating the criminals now?
Yeah, apparently we made a wine about them. And Alicia's going to collect all 19 crimes like they're Pokemon cards.
Alright. Are there 19 different kinds of wine?
You know what?
Or just 19 different corks?
I think there's 19 different corks. I'm sure they have more than 19 different kinds of wine. One of which that maybe you'll be interested to try at some point is the Snoop Dogg California Red.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, it's $1 more because it has Snoop Dogg on it, but it might be worth it.
Yeah.
He had to get it.
He wasn't sent to Australia.
No, he wasn't. I think he is a special exception. But he was in jail at multiple points in his life, so.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Snoop Dogg committed one of these things while smoking all of the weed. Maybe that was his crime. Maybe he just smoked all of the weed.
All of it. It was just gone.
And he's friends with Martha Stewart, which I think is just the best friendship I've ever seen. Yeah. I think it's adorable too. So funny enough, while I was researching for my next conspiracy theory, Snoop Dogg came up in it, so we'll see.
Whoa. Now I'm curious to know what that is.
Right? So our crimes are, they're so old-timey and I love them. Grand larceny, theft above the value of 1 shilling. And then there's petty larceny, theft under 1 shilling. There's
what is a shilling?
A shilling is like a unit of money. Isn't it?
But is it like
It's like
100?
It's like old-timey money. Hold on. Dollars.
But is it old-timey money for like $1?
Let's find out. Dollars to shilling conversion. So, that's Kenyan shillings. Is that the same thing? Maybe it is. It says that 109 shillings is equivalent to $1 US.
Okay.
So
That makes me feel better.
Okay.
I always thought that a shilling was like just $1. Like, you go get a candy bar and it's 2 shillings. And I'm like, so if you steal a candy bar, this is grand larceny now? What?
Yeah. If it's more than 1 shilling. Also, you're stealing a $200 candy bar. So.
Right, okay.
If you're stealing a $200 candy bar, good on you. I wonder if a $200 candy bar exists. I'm going to Google it.
I'm sure it does. It probably has like gold flakes in it.
Well, they have wine with gold
flakes,
flakes, so that makes sense.
Ugh.
I think one glass of this wine is like $1,000 or something stupid. Buying or receiving stolen goods, jewels, etc. Stealing lead, iron, or copper, and then buying or receiving lead, iron, or copper. So you can't buy it or receive it or steal it. You just can't touch it, is what I've gathered from this.
Okay.
Are you taking notes here?
It exists on its own.
Impersonating an Egyptian.
Wow. Okay.
Stealing from furnished lodgings. So you can't steal other people's shit, is what I gathered from that. Setting fire to underwood. Still uncertain about what that means. It sounds like it could be interpreted a variety of ways. Either way, it's not good. Stealing letters, advancing the postage, and secreting the money. Sure.
Okay.
Assault with the intent to rob, but just regular assault is fine, apparently. That's what I'm gathering.
Yep.
Stealing roots, trees, or plants and destroying them.
Why would you destroy them?
I don't know. Why do you need... I don't know. This is how these people ended up in Australia.
So.
You're just trying to make it to Australia. Bigamy is another one, which is always a good... don't do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Assaulting, cutting, or burning clothing was a crime.
Okay.
So, guys, if you happen to buy a Twisted and Uncorked t-shirt, you cannot turn it into a crop top. It is a crime.
Do not catch it on fire.
Do not.
We see you.
Yeah. I mean, especially not if you're wearing it. We're concerned for your safety at that point. Counterfeiting the copper coin, also bad. So just stay away from copper. This is just good advice here. Clandestine marriage, which is an illegal or an unofficial marriage. Stealing a shroud out of a grave. So literally stealing a skull from a grave, which is what I got today on my cork. Fun fact.
Wow, that's a cool one.
Right? I've got 5 now. I'm 5 for 5. I haven't gotten a duplicate one yet, so we're going to knock on wood.
Nice.
Watermen carrying too many passengers on the Thames, and if any, drowned. So apparently you cannot have too many passengers, and it is a double crime if any of these people drown in your transportation.
Okay.
So don't overload your boat.
Some insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Incorrigible rogues who broke out of prison and persons reprieved from capital punishment. And then the one that Sierra got today, embelling naval stores in certain cases. So apparently sometimes it's okay to loot stores, but sometimes it's not.
So strange.
There's no
why specifically
guidelines
naval
here.
Stores?
I know. I don't know.
It's so weird.
In the 1700s, it was really important.
Yeah.
So those are the 19 crimes, guys. Especially don't burn your Twisted and Uncorked clothing.
Right.
So there are 19 corks, one for each of the 19 crimes a person could commit to be sentenced to punishment by transportation, aka being sent to Australia. The corks, which are randomly distributed with the bottles, have the name of the crime on the side. What crime will you uncork tonight? So that's my little wine segment, guys.
Fun.
And I do know that Sierra is a little bit pickier about wines, but I think she's broadening her scope here, and I'm hoping that she'll not mind this one, especially for a red. I think it's pretty smooth. So
I'm excited to try it.
And similarly, there's going to be wines that I don't love too. And look at this little segue, Sierra. So you guys know what you want to do when you want to try a new wine, but you're not sure if you're going to like it, and you want to try it, but you find it and you don't like it? Sangria.
Oh my god. Did you write that?
Yeah.
That looked really difficult to say.
So guys, our next improvement / Sierra flair to the show is on her episodes the following week. We're going to be making a sangria recipe with the wine that I chose. So 2 drinks, 1 amazing bottle. We're geniuses.
Yeah, of course. We like to reuse things.
Yeah, reuse, recycle. And sometimes that includes trying a wine that maybe you're really loving or maybe you're not too fussy about, and you turn it into sangria. Also good advice for when you leave it in your fridge for one day too long and it's maybe questionable for wine drinking purposes. You can also turn it into sangria.
There you go.
I know I am trash. Or if you want to go this extra mile and be like Alecia, you can make Wine Claw white trash sangrias and just mix Wine Claws or White Claws and wine. That works
There
too.
you go. That works too.
But I think, knowing Sierra, she's gonna bring a really good sangria recipe. I mean, our cocktail recipe for our Patreon bonus episode was
oh gosh, that was so
so good. I could drink it every day.
I used the last of my Pink Whitney for that, and I let my husband try it right before I made it, and literally the next day he was like, hey, make me that drink you had yesterday. And I was like, we don't have any more Pink Whitney. You gotta go to the store.
You're like, I will definitely make us more, but you're going to get the Pink Whitney.
Yeah.
That seems like a reasonable trade-off. And if you guys want to find out what that drink is, you're going to have to go to our Patreon and find out.
Mm-hmm. It was a good episode, too.
It was a good episode. Yeah, not just for the cocktail recipe, but for the bonus episode. Yeah. But mostly the cocktail recipe.
The teachers.
Yes. For the teeth and the teachers. Again, if you want to know what that means, go find out. But yes, those are 2 cases that'll definitely keep you thinking, for sure.
Yeah.
Thinking while you're drinking that Pink Whitney. Or your questionable 19 crime sangria.
Either way.
I have a little bit of a bottle of 19 crimes. There's like this much left. And I think it's been in my fridge for like maybe 2 weeks. I think it's like only cooking wine now. I don't think I can turn it into sangria. I think it might be pushing it even for me.
Have you tried the Uprising already?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was the first one that
I
tried of all of 19 crimes wines, and it was my favorite that I've tried so far. I've not tried any other whites, but maybe in a few months when we're feeling like we want to splurge on another bottle and another crime, we can do that. But yeah, I hope you like it. No pressure. No pressure, Alecia. Also, don't spill on yourself, because you seem to spill every time we record.
I always spill things. One thing or the other, I always spill.
But you're pretty and intelligent and just not graceful. That's fine. We can't have all of it. Are you going to try it? Are you going to tell me what you think? Okay, so the rule with wine tasting is you have to have 1 sip and then you have to have another sip. YouTube video. What are your thoughts?
It's not bad.
But it's not
a little. It's just a little dry.
Okay.
It's definitely not sweet. It's not bad, but it's like
we're saving the sweet red for the apple
bar. Like 15%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact for our listeners.
It's strong.
Most red wines are higher ABV than white wines or rosés. So,
yeah.
Get a little bit wild. But it's okay. She's going to have this glass with me for this episode, and then we're going to make some bang-ass sangria. So, I don't know what I just said. I just said bang-ass. So, we may need to have a show meeting after this about what Alecia can and cannot say on the show, and that's definitely going to be added to that. Ay. Well, cheers to episode 2. Thanks for humoring me. Cheers. She's so good at making her cheers noises, guys. Are you ready to get into the disappeared?
I'm ready.
You're okay. So, I am covering a Canadian case. In light of mine and Sierra's running joke of Canadian versus American things, I figured it would be good for our first separate case episode to bring in. My lights just flickered, so we're gonna ignore that.
Man, I wish that I could see them.
Okay, guys, for the episode, you're not gonna look at me. You're just gonna see my lights. You should see, like, things dim around me, but maybe my halo light throws that off.
Also, like, as soon as you turned around, the video, like, it froze on you, so I couldn't see anything that was happening anyway.
Oh, I don't like that either. It's a separate issue,
The ghost is messing with your internet.
Apparently. It's coming to say hi to Sierra.
Hi.
Okay. You know what I like about, like, minimizing Zoom is that I can still see your, like, reactions while I have my notes open. That's great.
Yeah.
It's a little Sierra bubble. Okay, so mine is the infamous case of Michael Dunahee. Does that ring a bell to you at all, Sierra?
It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's because it's Canadian. Maybe it's because I suck with names.
Or a combination of the two.
Yeah.
So I'm not even exaggerating, like 30 sources. So this case is infamous. However, there's not a lot of information on it. So I have like a full episode's worth of info, but I had to go on like a deep dive, and it's just crazy for a case that was so infamous, and that shook Canada as much as it did. There to just, but I guess with disappeared cases like this, not all, like I'm sure we'll cover a variety of them, but it's one of those gone without a trace situations.
Yeah.
And it's just every parent's worst nightmare. So on that note, let's dive in.
I'm excited.
So Michael Wayne Dunahee was born on May 12th, 1986 in Victoria, BC. Fun fact for our listeners, that's where I'm from. To Crystal and Bruce Dunahee. He had a younger sister, Caitlin, who was born late in 1990. Michael was always very social. He loved to play and make new friends, and this was something that he was very much looking forward to on this particular Sunday afternoon that I'm going to be unpacking, as there was a park on site, and he was going to be able to go to the playground and make more friends and keep playing. So, and just in case I didn't say it, and I think I said it, oh no, I didn't say it yet. Okay. The family, sorry, on Sunday, March 24th, 1991, the Dunahee family packed up to head to a football practice at Blanchard Elementary School in Victoria, BC, and this is located in the sub-city of Esquimalt, so it's about 30 minutes from where I grew up in Brentwood Bay. So Victoria is not very large, and it is only accessible by like a personal boat, a ferry, or a plane. And it is also the capital of Canada, so there's that too.
That's so strange.
Yeah, so it's pretty small. My whole family is over there. It's not an everybody knows everybody situation, but it could be. Like, it's for such a city that's grown so much, it's still very much like a small town feel.
Yeah.
And things like the events that unfolded on Sunday, March 24th, 1991 just didn't happen here. Especially in 1991. So, the family arrived at the school around 12:30 p.m. Bruce was unloading the car while Crystal and Michael and their infant daughter, Caitlin, went over to where the practice was going to be happening. As soon as they got over to the fields, Michael asked his mom if he could go and play at the playground. Like I mentioned, he was so excited to go and play with some friends. And the playground was about 100 feet away from the field that they were going to be playing on. So Bruce was coming over. Crystal was getting ready for her practice. She's like, yep, that's fine. You can go over. It was with that in eyesight. She remembered that it was a particularly windy day, so she knelt down, did up his jacket, and said to stay there and wait for Dad to come and to not leave the playground or go with anybody. When Bruce arrived at the playground no more than 10 minutes later, Michael was gone.
Goodness gracious.
And just to paint the scene here, I am going to include the maps, like the aerial maps that we're dealing with here. This playground was so close to this field, like literally eyesight. It was a busy Sunday afternoon. There was lots of kids playing, lots of parents around. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes this even scarier. Michael was wearing a blue hooded jacket with red trim, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles t-shirt, multicolored rugby pants, and blue sneakers that day. He was 3 feet tall and 51 pounds. He has blue eyes, blonde hair, and at the time of his disappearance, he was just starting to develop freckles.
Oh.
Has the picture downloaded yet?
Yeah. Should I open it?
Yeah. You need to look at the sweet baby angel face that we're dealing with here.
Oh my goodness.
So, I grew up in Victoria, BC. Mm-hmm. This photo I have seen my entire life. At every Walmart, every gas station, everything. And I was born in 1993, which was 2 years after Michael went missing. And they are very much still actively looking for him. So, yeah, so he's a sweetheart. So I will include the missing photo as well that Sierra is looking at. He's just so sweet.
So he was born in 88?
Yes. No, 89? Oh, sorry, 86. He was born in 1986. And he went missing in 1991. So he was almost 5 at the time of his disappearance.
Okay.
Approximately 50 people were in the park that day, and as soon as notice broke that they couldn't find their son, obviously there was a bit of commotion that went on, and people began looking for him immediately. There was a police station just down the road at the end of the block that Bruce ran over to, within approximately 30 minutes of Michael being missing, so the police were notified right away. For the days that followed, police conducted door-to-door searches and interviews of the surrounding area and neighborhood, thinking that it was possible that Michael just had wandered away. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. After quickly ruling that out, that he couldn't have wandered in any of the possible directions from the park, the case was classified as an abduction. So since Michael disappeared so quickly from a public place, the police quickly classified his case as an abduction rather than a missing child. And all of the detectives from Victoria Police Department were called in for the case.
But how did no one else see him get abducted if it was so busy?
No, this is why this is insane. And these cases are literally nightmare fuel. So the only explanation is that Michael was the victim of a stranger abduction and it was done out of opportunity. Police do not believe that Michael was targeted in any way. They think that this was literally just a crime of opportunity. Michael came from a loving middle-class family of whom were still very close-knit, so nothing pointed to a relative abduction or somebody in his family ever being a suspect. So investigators believe that Michael's parents did absolutely nothing wrong and that they were the victims of every parent's worst nightmare. Stranger abductions are incredibly rare, especially in a safe city like Victoria, which I painted. Statistics from 2013 indicate 33 missing children across all of Canada, and that included abductions by somebody that the child knew, which, as we know, is more commonly the case.
Oh my goodness.
And that's 33 in 2013, but that definitely paints a picture of the rarity, because I imagine it was even less in 1991.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, compared to America, where it's like, every other kid is missing.
And, yeah, and we will touch on that, because that is a possible theory. As we know, a lot of the hypothesis around the amount of missing children that have gone disappeared in the last few years in the U.S., or all over the world, rather, typically go into child sex industries. Yeah. So that is a possible theory. It's not all out of the realm of possibility with Michael here, but that's not the number one theory. So okay. There are actually not many. Spoiler alert, guys. This was literally bonkers for Victoria. So hundreds of tips began coming in every hour from across British Columbia and the rest of North America. During that time, sorry, I have a hiccup, / I might burp, maybe not. Nothing says come listen to our show like me burping in your ear. During this time in 1991, any police tips that came in were written on carbon paper and sorted out manually. So they were getting hundreds of tips at this point, recording it, and then having to sort it. But police believe that if they had the current technology that they do today, as well as video surveillance like CTV footage, DNA techniques, and a computer system to sort out these tips, this case might have had a chance of being solved.
Yeah.
All the while, police were following up on every tip that had come in. Helicopters with heat-seeking technology searched nearby wooded areas, and the Coast Guards combed through the surrounding waters. So, like I said, you can only access Victoria by boat or plane, so... At the time of his disappearance, Michael had apparently been playing hide-and-seek with a couple of children on the playground, one of whom, a 10-year-old little girl, said that she had seen the child get into a shiny brown van. Other than this, no one had seen or heard anything. Victoria detectives investigated known sex offenders in the area and interviewed anybody who had been in the area around the time of Michael's disappearance, including everybody that had been at the park that day. But they were unable to find much information except for one witness report that said a man in his late 40s or early 50s in a brown VW van was seen near the playground. The Dunahees parked at the far end of the parking lot by the playground, and they would have had to walk by where this van was allegedly parked in order to get to the football field. No one saw the van arrive or leave that day, but they do know that at the time of Michael's disappearance was detected, it was gone. So, this is our number one tip so far, guys.
That's insane.
Yeah, and so scary.
Yeah, it's not very much, and it doesn't sound very concrete, and, like, how do you work with that?
Exactly. 1 month after Michael's disappearance, the police staged a recreation of his disappearance at Blanchard Elementary School using a brown van, but were unable to produce any new leads. So the hopes that in them doing this was that maybe they would see a process that they didn't before, or perhaps seeing this would trigger some sort of memory for anybody that was on site that day that might have seen something that they maybe didn't register that they saw. But as we know with these types of situations, there's a confirmation bias where you're made to believe that you saw something based on how convinced you are of what just happened. And that can sometimes produce what is the word I'm looking for? Unreliable memories. Yeah. So unfortunately it didn't help with them at all, and this lead about the brown van kind of went cold. They did start searching the entire island of anybody that had registered a brown Volkswagen van, which was in 1991 more people than you would think.
Yeah.
But again, following up on all of these citizens, there was no potential link between the two. This area of Victoria in Esquimalt is also a little ways out of the way from any of the main points of the island, which makes it even more of a shock to the community that Michael was living in, as a child had been abducted from their own neighborhood, and it made who they could be looking for even trickier. If it had been a main hub, it could have been a tourist passing through. If it had been at all near the ferry terminals or downtown, like, it could have made sense, but Esquimalt is literally just a sleepy little town on the outskirts of the island where only people that live there really go.
Yeah.
So
it seems like at least he would still have to be in the area, though.
Yeah, that's exactly their hope too. So the Dunahees spoke out during an interview after weeks of searching. His father was reported saying his clothes might be different now, but some of his characteristics will always remain the same. For example, he would often rub both of his ears at the same time. He liked to sit and squat on his haunches with his forearms resting over his knees. So if anybody doesn't know what that means, it's like a little froggy squat. And I see little kids do this all the time.
Yeah.
He's very stubborn. Things have to be just so. His ketchup needs to be on the right part of his plate. He needs to have everything in its place, and he liked to argue with his parents despite being a very good kid. He also really loved Disney cartoons. DuckTales and Chip and Dale were his favorite at the time. I know, my heart hurts. The police put together a profile of the individual that likely took Michael. They may have been somebody trying to have a child of their own, or had recently lost a child, or perhaps were looking to buy a child or sell a child. They also concluded that the perpetrator was likely a male, perhaps either married or single, residing in Victoria. He was likely a loner who hung around playgrounds. Somebody people are used to seeing out and about, but have been laying low around the time of Michael's disappearance. Police urged employers to report anyone who didn't show up for work or were making excuses for why they weren't able to come in. The person has likely done something like this before, and they will likely reoffend again.
It's so awful knowing that
I know, and
not
Sierra
found still.
I was going to say, and Sierra can probably speak to this as a mom. I'm not a mom, and this is my worst nightmare.
Yeah, it is awful.
And again, like, investigators say concretely that they don't believe that the parents did anything wrong. Like, 100 feet away, sure, there's a bunch of kids playing, go have fun. Like, that should be a normal thing, but
yeah,
within that 10-minute window. Fears and concerns about child abduction quickly began to rise among parents, kids, and schools in the months after the disappearance, because, like I said, things like this didn't happen here. Michael's face was plastered across 35 different cities, reaching many cities in the U.S.
Well, that's good. At least they were looking for him here, but...
There was one reported... Actually, hold on, that's my next paragraph. I'll get there. The first time America's Most Wanted, Anybody, that show should sound familiar. Aired Michael's story in 1991, and they aired it for the first time, which was the year that Michael went missing, and they ended up airing it 3 times over the early stages in hopes that it would generate a new lead or a tip, because other than interviewing the people that had been at the park that day, taking his photo to surrounding neighborhoods, and searching for whoever might have been driving a brown van and this profile that they've put together, they're at a dead end. So America's Most Wanted is hosted by John Welsh, who is the father of Adam Walsh, who went missing from a Sears Hollywood Mall area while shopping with his mom and was unfortunately found strangled later. So in light of their pain, the Walsh family turned that pain into advocating for missing children, which is why they took such a special interest in Michael's case and why they aired it so many times. Do you know the Adam Walsh case?
I do, yeah. He left with like 2 teenage boys, right?
Yeah.
So sad.
Awful. And he was like the cutest little kid with like little buck teeth and like my heart. Are you bored? I'm sorry. I know this is
I'm not bored.
Okay.
No,
I know this is like a somber case, so
it is really
sad. You can only add so much oomph to it.
Yeah.
My family, when they found out I was doing a true crime podcast, they very much recommended the Michael Dunahee case, because this was right around the time that my parents were like had almost had me. All of my family remember this day. All of my cousins had to like call when they left the school from the school phone, which, as you know, when you go to the office and you ask for anything when you're in elementary school, they treat you like a martyr anyway, but whatever. Yeah. Like my cousins literally had to call the school before they left, and then as soon as they got home, if my aunt or uncle were working, had to call them at work to let them know that they were safe. Like, this created mass hysteria in Victoria. And I remember
so sad.
The park that Michael went missing from. One of my cousins went to elementary school there, and it shook the town. And so my family was like, I think it would be really good for you to cover this case. And I completely agree with them, because with cases like this, that missing piece is out there somewhere. So as small as our audience is, you never know. Somebody might hear something that tells somebody that, like, the grapevine trickles. So they suggested this case because it is still very actively being investigated, and because it haunted that neighborhood for so long. And having grown up in it, I can very much attest to that, because like I said, until I turned, there's still missing posters of Michael in Victoria. And that was 30 years ago. I'm really bad at math. Don't check my math, guys. We still don't do math on the show. Sierra's not a mathematician either. It didn't change the rules.
30 years. Right.
Thank you. So
sad.
Which I think speaks volumes to how much it affected Victoria. Like I said, it didn't happen there. Like the news lady said, it didn't happen there. And I'm really sad Sierra could not see that screen share, because it was some excellent 90s hair and shoulder pads that were happening in that clip. And you know, like when they used to make you watch those horrendous videos in elementary school, and it would have like a narration, and then that yellow like block lettering would come across the screen. Yeah. It had that element too.
So what is your theory?
So there's a few. So over the years, there's been a number of possible sightings of Michael, one of which happened in October, 2 months after he had disappeared in New Jersey. A former police officer had said that he had seen Michael with a woman at a convenience store. Police in New Jersey did actively follow up on that, and it was a reputable source being a police officer saying that he was 90% sure that it had been Michael. However, they did eventually catch up with the woman. A DNA test was taken, and it did come back as negative, and it wasn't Michael.
Wow.
Another reported sighting was a woman in Victoria that had seen a woman driving a Volkswagen van with a blonde boy in her passenger seat. That van, again, has never been found, or that woman, possibly. And again, like I said in my notes earlier, if there had been CCTV footage, if there had been something, if people had, even in that neighborhood, like security, like outside of their house, like anything that could have possibly seen this vehicle driving. And there are a lot of sightings, but I'm just, like, thousands of possible sightings, but I'm just reiterating the ones that the police thought were viable. And it makes me even sadder because this poor family just went on a roller coaster ride of possible hope and then having that hope dashed. Hope, having that hope dashed. So, another woman had seen a boy resembling Michael at a grocery store outside of Victoria. I believe it was on the mainland in Vancouver, so where I'm from, or where I'm currently living, rather. Another woman in the store that had reported the sighting approached the little boy and asked if his name was Michael, and all he said was, "I want to see my mommy." That was followed up on. Again, a DNA test was conducted, and it was not Michael, although it did look a lot like him.
Yeah.
In 2000, a report of a blue jacket with red trim was found in a waterway near the park where Michael had gone missing. However, a woman later claimed that jacket as her daughter's, having forgotten it there. Again, I don't know how her jacket ended up in the water, but whatever. And the tag on the inside of the jacket did have that family's last name, so it wasn't Michael's, but it did look a lot like it. In 2006, reports of a young man who physically resembled Michael living in the interior of BC since 1990, since the late 1990s. I was like, how did he go back in time? Breathed new life into the case. However, this young man was confirmed by DNA testing to not be Michael either. And in early 2009, police in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, found a missing person poster of Michael at the home of one Vernon Seitz. He was 62 years old, who had confessed to his psychiatrist that he had murdered 2 children in 1959 when he was 12 years old, and that he knew of another child killing. In addition to the missing poster of Michael found in his home, police officers made significant discoveries in his basement, including piles of child pornography, files of unsolved missing children, cases in the U.S. and Canada from the late 1980s to the 1990s. They also found a map of somewhere not in Milwaukee titled Millstream Park, northwest of Victoria. And there is a Millstream Road that leads to several remote parks in Victoria, which was outside of Esquimalt, which is where Michael went missing. However, it was a drawing of a map on a piece of cardboard, so there's no way to say for sure that that was where that was, or if it was another Millstream Park.
Right.
Seitz was later found dead by Milwaukee police, apparently from natural causes, before any more information could be given or he could be interviewed regarding Michael's disappearance. However, one weird fact is throughout the investigation, many psychics approached the Dunahee family with intentions to help, and allegedly, according to Seitz's family, he had been a psychic, which explains some of the child items in his basement. Doesn't really explain it that much to me.
Wait, the child pornography guy was a psychic?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Seitz had contacted Crystal Dunahee, so Michael's mom, early in the investigation to offer his help. So this could be a red herring. I don't either.
Yeah.
So it could be a red herring. That could be why that missing poster was in his possession and why this weird drawn map was there. Or he could have had something to do with it, but unfortunately we'll never know because sometimes you carry secrets to your grave.
Yeah.
But it's just a really weird coincidence that he had also contacted the family. So I just don't feel good about it. It's still icky.
Yeah.
And I'm really... So police are still actively investigating this lead. For example, they are digging into any record that Seats had been traveling in Victoria, BC in 1991. And from what I last read, they haven't divulged any further information on this, but they are looking into it.
That's so crazy.
But it's like, it's tough when you go back to like 1991. It's not like you have a credit card statement that you could look back on electronically and see, oh, he was there.
Everything was just on paper.
Yeah. So they are still investigating this, but it is possible that he was traveling in Victoria at the time of Michael's disappearance and that he did have something to do with it. Or it's possible that he was a really creepy psychic and he did just genuinely want to offer his help.
Yeah.
No one knows. In 2011, when the 20th anniversary of Michael's disappearance was approaching, the police were notified of a man living in Chase, British Columbia, who looked like Michael, but again, DNA testing confirmed that it was not. Lastly, and this happened about 20 minutes away from where I live, in 2013, a man with the username Canuckles posted on the message board of the Vancouver Canucks official website, which is our hockey team, claiming that the police were coming to get a DNA test for him. The reason for this is they had requested a blood sample from this young man living in Surrey, British Columbia, as they believed that he could possibly be Michael. However, on September 9th, 2014, Victoria Police Department stated in a public conference that Surrey man was not Michael after DNA testing was done. So the reason that this one could have been a really good hunch or hope was because this young man was born in the same year as Michael. He resembled Michael's age-regressed photos and he was adopted. So it's possible that if Michael was sold or taken somewhere else, that somebody curious about where their roots are, or where their family is from or whatever in an adoptive situation, that they may be able to find him that way. So
right.
And all of the Dunahees have donated public DNA to various databases in the hopes that if Michael was adopted by another family, that he might, at this time in his life, he would be 32, I think, if my math is correct, and that curiosity will get the best of him and he might go looking for his family or enter his DNA into the system and be able to find them that way too.
So crazy.
Right? Many Victoria residents recall the day that Michael disappeared as a loss of innocence for the city. As I said, things like that didn't really happen, and a 4-year-old boy, especially with that sweet baby angel face, is the epitome of innocence. And a child being abducted in their community came as a shock. Michael's disappearance, like I said, was one of the largest police investigations in Canadian history, and to this day, over 11,000 tips have been received from the police. I can't even imagine sorting that by hand on frickin' carbon paper.
Yeah.
The case was a major story for many years and was reported across Canada and the United States. However, despite a large number of tips and the over $100,000 cash reward for his safe return, the police still do not have any solid leads in the case other than what I've mentioned. Michael's case remains open, with officers still committed to continuing the investigation. Both the police and Michael's family remain hopeful and believe that one day that last tip that they need will come in and provide them with the answer about the whereabouts of their son. So police have mentioned throughout the investigation that they do have a number of persons of interest. However, none have been publicly named. And I will just touch on if somebody is considered a suspect or a person of interest. In the US, that can be disclosed to the public. However, in Canada, it is a law that their identity is protected until they are officially charged with anything. Fun fact.
Right.
So they have a number of, their words, possible suspects. They did end up bringing the FBI in a few years ago. However, they've still not been able to find any traces of Michael. And the tips especially come flooding in around the anniversary of his disappearance every year. Crystal Dunahee attends weekly running clubs. Bruce Dunahee works at a Victoria shipyard, and Caitlin, now in her late 20s, has moved to Vancouver, Caitlin, where she studies construction management at BCIT University. She recalls in interviews, and this is Michael's sister, Caitlin, that she regrets never knowing her older brother seen cuddling her in home videos and old photos. She always feels that a piece of her is that she never knew she had is missing. And when she started school, it was especially hard for her since people were constantly asking about her missing brother.
Oh.
I know, this poor girl. Crystal became, so that Michael's mom became an advocate for missing children in British Columbia, and has served as the president of the Child Find British Columbia Foundation for the last few years. In 2002, she lent her voice to support the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, and calls to introduce an Amber Alert system in the province, as she believed that her son would have been found if such a program existed in 1991. And as we know, that system has been installed all across the world. Do you guys have Amber Alerts in the U.S.?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. The community of Esquimalt, the greater part of Victoria metropolitan area, like I said, holds an annual charity event called the Michael Dunahee Keep Hope Alive Fund Run to raise money for the Child Find Foundation. And this event is organized by Michael's sister, Caitlin. Michael's parents have never given up hope looking for them, and that they might one day be reunited with their son. Hope is what drives them forward, and as we know in our true crime world, that there's been many stories of families being reunited in abduction stories, and his family is quoted as saying it's unlikely, but it's not impossible. For example, in 1993, Patricia O'Brien allegedly fled to Toronto with her 20-month-old daughter, Sigourney Casolam, leaving behind a heartbroken father, but the pair were located on Vancouver Island later in 2011. California's J.C. Lee Dugard was kidnapped in 1991 at the age of 11 while she was on her way home from school, and was discovered in 2009 after being held in captivity for 18 years. The Cleveland kidnapping, which anybody that's listened to my coverage of that, the Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus case, where they were abducted and kept for 10 years and they were able to escape. So they fully believe that their son is still alive. His mother is very much found a great deal of spirituality. His mother has very much found a great deal of spirituality throughout all of this, and she believes that a mom would know if her child was no longer alive, and that she fully believes that he's out there somewhere.
I think it's very possible that he's still alive.
I think it is very possible, too.
There's no evidence, There's no anything found. I think he was probably just sold to another family, whether it be for human trafficking, like sex trafficking, which would be awful, or like, the way George
or
Dan
somebody
used to
bought him
sell
that was
babies.
not able to have a kid, yeah.
Right.
So his family, like I said, still very much believes that he is alive, and I will leave this case with two more quick notes here. So part of the sources that I found, and part of the Child Find British... Do you hear that? Mm-hmm. And part of the Child Find British Columbia Foundation was making a webpage called missingkids.ca. So they're on I've sourced my main page as well as on our growing resources page on the website that Sierra and I are hoping to create. I am going to add this page as well, which is a PDF about the types of abduction styles that predators will typically use and lures that have been found to be used on some children. It also has helpful tips about how you can talk to your kids about these warnings and lures that predators will typically use and how they can address each one. So the theory is on the day, so the theory is on the day that Michael went missing that he was lured. It was such a busy day, a busy time of the day. There was many people around, so he would have had to have been lured to avoid creating any commotion. So that's why his family felt that this was important. And for any parents that are looking to talk to their kids about how to be safe, I found that that was a pretty good resource. Cough, cough, Sierra, if you want to read it. Cough, cough.
Yeah. At the Alcatraz East Crime Museum that I went to, in every room there was this little like box, like up against the wall, but on the lower part, and it was kids' safety tips, and like you read, it was like a reading, and then it was a question and answer. So first you read it to your kid, and then there was a question like, what do you do if someone says that they're your mom's friend? And then there was like 3 choices, and they had to pick the right answer. And I did it with my kids all the way through, and I was like, man, I love my little kids. They knew the answers.
Good.
I taught them well.
And I remember growing up in this time, my parents teaching me about certain things as well. And the most common one that my parents were always afraid that would be potentially used on me was the cute animals lure. Yeah. Like, can you help me find my dog? Do you want to come see a puppy? So just always know. Just always know, guys.
Yeah, the one that was like, hey, this is, I'm your mommy's friend. My daughter was like, no, I wouldn't go with them. Like, I don't know who they are just because it's your friend. And I was like, good, right answer. She was like, besides, you don't have any friends. I'm like, also right answer.
Oh my god. Okay, that's the cheekiest and best thing I've ever heard. Like, it's one thing if it's somebody that you have introduced to her as your friend. Like, this is so-and-so, and they've been over at your house or whatever. It's another thing if they're just saying it for sure, but you don't have any friends. That is a lie, miss. I am sitting right here. But it would be very suspect if Alecia came to pick you up from school, because, I'm on the other side of a province, so question that for sure. That's so funny. That is the best response I've ever heard in my life.
She's sassy.
Takes after her mom or something. And the last note I will leave here for the case is if you have any information on the disappearance of Michael Dunahee, please call the RCMP, or you can provide an anonymous tip by calling Crime Stoppers. So the Crime Stoppers line is 1-800-222-8477. That's 1-800-222-8477. Or if you would like to call the Victoria Police Department directly, that's 1-250-995-7444, 1-250-995-7444 for any information. And they are still receiving active tips and still actively following up on them. So,
also, everybody, figure out your ancestry. Do the ancestry, do DNA, do the 23andMe. Like, just do it for fun. If you suspect that someone in your family might not actually be in your family, gift it to them. Be like, hey, let's find out more about our family tree, Everybody should know where they actually came from. It doesn't matter if you're adopted. If you were adopted, that means that your parents loved you enough to take care of you, even though you're not biologically theirs. That's fine if you find that
100%.
out. But if you find out that you're a missing child, then maybe you should also learn who your real family is, too.
You know what? That's an incredibly good point, Sierra, because while I was doing my research, there was a case of a child who was just curious about his ancestry, did start digging into his heritage a little bit, and he ended up finding a missing child poster of him under a different name.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So these kinds of things happen all the time.
Yeah. A lot of times people can't have children, and they will do, whatever, they will
unfortunately,
pay whatever
desperate
sketchy
measures,
person that they can to be able to be happy and fulfilled in their life and have a child. And sometimes that child, that sketchy person got by picking them up off the street.
Yeah, I was going to
And
say,
it's
sometimes
not
that
your parents'
child
fault,
is Michael
it's-
Dunahee.
Yeah, it's insane. Also,
No,
have you ever
and
thought of
Go ahead.
the simulation theory in this?
No.
Like, what if he was just deleted?
That's so freaky. You know what?
I know.
Ever since that simulation theory has
I've been thinking about a lot
brought
of cases
into my
differently.
brain, it's
Yeah.
true. You could definitely think of every unfortunate event as from the simulation theory, and it's true. Maybe Michael was deleted, but that's really sad to think about. I hope that's not the case.
It is. It's awful.
I think my personal belief is either he was abducted by some horrible, horrible, sick individual and kept with said individual. However, because his parents fully believe that he's alive, and police investigators still believe that he's alive, I don't think that that's an accurate theory. My personal theory is that he was adopted by another family.
Yeah, same. I think he was adopted. I think, like, first of all, most of the time it's women who get sold into sex slavery. I mean, it happens to men too,
It's
but
just so
mostly it's women.
heartbreaking.
And I feel like most of the kids who got taken and then adopted out were blonde hair, blue eyed kids. And that's what he was. So.
Yep, because that's a desirable trait.
Right.
Right? So
They bring in lots of money.
they do. And I will post, so they do an age regressed photo of Michael every 3 years since his disappearance. So I will post the last few years of recent ones from, I think they have one of him at like 25, of him at 30, and then of him at his age today. So I will post those as well on our website. Even if you think somebody you know kind of looks something like that, it's not. Look at how many people have been tested for his DNA, right? Like, it's not uncommon that somebody's like, hey, you kind of look like this kid that went missing in 1991. You mind if we just look into that real quick?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is my case, guys.
Insane.
I know that's a very somber one, but one that's a very big case where I'm from, and one that I felt was important to cover because, like we both said, we both think he's still alive and somewhere out there, and his parents just really want to find him. So, keep hope alive, guys. Keep hope alive. And that's all. That's it. That's all. I'm going to leave you on that bummer of a note for you to drink the rest of this delicious bottle of red. Just advocating heavy drinking on our show. It's fine.
To prepare for next week, buy some blueberries.
Yes, I will.
No, blackberries.
And our listeners.
I'm sorry.
Blackberries. Yes, if our listeners would like to drink our delicious sangria, actually, no, I'm going to do it like I do the wine post. I'll post your recipe on Monday.
Perfect.
That makes sense, right? Because we post a wine post on Monday, so we'll post a sangria post too. So you'll just have to take a really good photo of your delicious sangria.
Oh, no. Okay.
It has to be Instagram worthy.
All right, I'll try.
I just realized how red my face is. Oh my god. Whew. I was like tearing up a little bit. I'm drinking wine.
No.
It's sad, right? Well,
It is
just
sad.
you,
It's a sad
like
story.
you said with the Ted Bundy case. You can't look at another child and not think of your own babies, right? So
Yeah.
keep your babies
And
safe.
mine are blonde hair and blue eyed, so.
Are either of your children Michael Dunahee?
Neither of my children are older than me.
In the past. Can you
My
imagine?
husband
Kate,
had-
what if it's a simulation? What if your kid is just stuck in a simulation? You never know. I know. See,
My
you
husband
went
had
there.
blonde hair when he was a kid. But he was born in 88, not in 86.
Is that what you asked?
Yeah, it is actually.
You're like, hold on,
His
I'd just like to
family-
clarify.
Yeah, his family is super secretive about the DNA stuff. Like, they won't do it.
Guys, we might have a theory here.
Sprung here.
Yeah. That is insane, though. So, yes, please check out all of our resources and episode blog. And like we've shamelessly plugged, if you want some more Twisted and Uncorked, which we know you do, you can check out our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/twisted and uncorked. And those tiers start at just $1. So, yeah.
Lots of stuff.
And we have a link tree where you can find all of our socials, where you can find a link to leave us a review to get those stickers that you can keep in your drawer forever, and where you can follow us on everything, which you should be if you're not already. So
definitely.
That's all I got, my friend. Oh, and one last reminder. Sierra and I still want to keep doing listener stories. So if you have a crazy sleep paralysis thing that's happened in your life, if you have a true crime encounter, if you believe that you saw an alien ship fly across the roof of your house, if you have a ghost in your house like Alecia does.
If your kids used to talk about their past life to you, because mine totally did. Creepy as fuck.
That is so fascinating to me.
The reincarnation.
You and I could go on a deep dive from that forever. But it's true. Kids are fucking scary. Why do they do that? Yeah, guys, that's a really good example, Sierra. If you have a child reincarnation story that your child scared the shit out of you, we want to hear about it.
I want to know I'm not alone.
So, yeah, email those our way to Twisted and Uncorked. And we will be starting those up again once we got a little bit of a haul of stories to make an episode.
Exciting.
And if you want to be featured, you should send that in. In the meantime, follow us everywhere, leave us that review, and we will see you next Tuesday for our next disappeared episode. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Bye.
Hey there, friends. Interested in another podcast to listen to between episodes? Well, you're in luck. Come check out Bloody Babbles podcast. We are a gaggle of babblers who talk of true crime and other gory wonderment. New episodes are released every Tuesday, and you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are streamed. Happy babbling, my friends.